What if the secret to mastering your entire life could be traced back to just 4 things? Not fortune, not fate, just 4 choices you make daily. Why do some people rise, evolve, and lead with calm strength, while others stay stuck, overwhelmed by chaos they can't name? It's not talent, it's not privilege. The difference lies in one timeless principle: control. Control these, and you don't just survive, you lead. Have you ever wondered why certain people move through life with remarkable ease, while others constantly feel like they're struggling just to stay afloat? It's tempting to chalk it up to luck, natural talent, or privileged circumstances. But the truth runs deeper and simpler. The difference lies in mastering one profound principle: control. Your words. They can either build bridges of understanding or ignite fires that destroy relationships. Your mind, it can be your greatest ally or the saboteur that quietly works against you. Your emotions, if not guided, they can pull you into storms that were never yours to fight. And money, it can be a tool that empowers or chains that you locked onto yourself. When you learn to control these 4 powerful forces, your mouth, your mind, your emotions, and your money, you don't just master your inner world. You gain influence over the outer one as well. But fail to control them, and they'll end up controlling you, subtly shaping your every decision, silently dictating your relationships, and deciding which doors open or quietly shut. In this video, we'll dive into the timeless insights of Stoic philosophy to discover how you can take charge of these 4 domains, not through lofty theory, but through grounded wisdom and actionable tools. Because understanding is not enough, you must be able to live it daily. And remember, this isn't just about self-improvement. It's about transformation that ripples outwards. When you gain control, you inspire others to do the same. That's how change begins, not just in your life, but in the lives you touch. Your journey toward self-mastery starts here. Let's begin with the first and perhaps most overlooked realm of control: your mouth. Words once spoken are like arrows, swift, sharp, and irreversible. They can hit the mark, build bridges, or tear down entire walls. In the Stoic worldview, the ability to control one's speech isn't just a desirable trait, it's a fundamental virtue. Why? Because words are the building blocks of trust, harmony, and respect, both in your inner life and in every relationship you nurture. Epictetus once said, "First, learn the meaning of what you say, and then speak." A simple sentence, yet a profound reminder. Words aren't just noise, they're mirrors of your inner world. They shape how others see you and how you see yourself. Yet, in our fast-moving world, we often throw words around carelessly, underestimating their power. Think about it. How often do you tell yourself things like, "I can't," "It's too hard," or "I'm just not lucky"? These phrases may seem harmless, but over time, they write a mental script of limitation, a narrative that begins to feel like truth. But what if you flip the script? What if your words became tools of possibility instead, saying, "I'll give it a try. I'm learning. I am enough," doesn't just sound positive. It plants seeds of growth, self-belief, and resilience. That's the foundation of true inner strength, and this is only the beginning. In the next section, we'll explore how mastering your inner dialogue leads to mastery over the mind itself, a mind that, if tamed, becomes your greatest ally. Let's continue. Just as we've seen the power of controlling our spoken words, there's another dimension we often overlook: what we choose to say in the digital world. Controlling your mouth isn't just about face-to-face conversations. In today's age of social media, it's equally about what you post, share, or comment online. A single careless tweet, an impulsive comment, or a passive-aggressive post can ripple out far beyond what we intended, sometimes hurting your reputation, damaging relationships, or even jeopardizing your career. Ask yourself, how many times have you posted something in the heat of the moment only to wish you could take it back? How many friendships, partnerships, or opportunities have been quietly burned, not in person, but through a few unchecked words online? The digital world amplifies your voice. Every message, every caption, every emoji has weight. That's why mastering what you say and when you say it has never been more important. Let's take a simple but powerful example. Imagine a professional who, during a meeting, snaps at a colleague out of frustration. Their words cut deep, leaving not just temporary hurt, but long-term damage to trust and team unity. That one moment of lost control doesn't fade, it lingers. Now imagine the same person choosing a different path. They feel the anger rise, but instead of reacting, they pause. They take a breath. They choose to respond with clarity and respect. That one decision transforms the entire interaction, from conflict to connection, from division to mutual growth. That's where self-mastery begins, right in the pause. The Stoics held this simple habit in high regard: pause before you speak. Seneca wisely said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." And indeed, that small delay, just a few seconds, can be the barrier between chaos and calm. So here's a practical challenge. Next time you feel a sharp emotion bubbling up, whether it's frustration, anger, or disappointment, pause. Count to 3. Let the surge settle. Then ask yourself 3 powerful questions before you speak. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If your words don't pass all 3, hold them back. Because sometimes silence is stronger than any reply. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, you always have the option of having no opinion. There is rarely a true need to get worked up about things beyond your control. But remember, this isn't only about how you speak to others, it's also about how you speak to yourself. Negative self-talk is subtle, but it's one of the most damaging forms of speech. Every time you say to yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I always fail," you reinforce a story of weakness. And over time, your mind starts to believe that story. It becomes your reality. The Stoic path invites us to be conscious even with our inner voice. Replace the language of limitation with words of strength. I am capable. I'm learning. I grow stronger every day. You are always speaking to yourself, whether you realize it or not. So make sure your words build you up, not break you down. Now that we've explored the power of speech, spoken and internal, it's time to journey even deeper. What if the real battleground lies not just in your words, but in your mind itself? Let's turn to the next domain of mastery, the mind. In the last section, we explored how words, spoken and internal, can either weaken or empower you. Now let's continue that thread, because when you consistently speak with intention, something powerful happens. Your inner narrative begins to shift. When you say to yourself, "This is difficult, but I can handle it," it might sound simple, almost too simple, but don't underestimate the quiet strength of affirmations like this. Over time, these statements do more than comfort you. They reshape your identity. They cultivate resilience, reinforce self-belief, and help you stand strong when life pushes back. Every word you speak is a ripple. In your family, your workplace, or your community, your words either lift people up or wear them down. Picture a team facing a tough challenge. One leader chooses to encourage, "I believe in you. We can do this together." Suddenly, the room shifts. People lean in. Energy rises. They're motivated to overcome. Now contrast that with another leader who blames and belittles. "You always mess things up. This is your fault." The result? Silence, shame, distrust. The group retreats, deflated and disconnected. These aren't just conversations. They're ecosystems in motion. One word can spark momentum. Another can shut it down. And that's the real weight of speech. Tiny ripples that shape the emotional climate around you. So, how do we become more conscious of this power? Start with reflection. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to journal. Ask yourself, did my words today uplift or diminish? Look for patterns. Do certain people or situations bring out your best or your worst? Before you hit send on an emotional message, pause. Give it 24 hours. What feels urgent in the moment often feels irrelevant by morning. That delay isn't avoidance. It's wisdom. And most importantly, listen. Before speaking, really listen, because often people don't need advice. They just want to feel understood. When you listen with full attention, your words afterward carry greater meaning. Think of your words as seeds. Every sentence you speak plants something, either weeds of fear and doubt, or flowers of encouragement and growth. Over time, your daily language becomes the soil you live in. The quality of your conversations shapes the quality of your life. Plant wisely, and your environment becomes fertile ground for success. Speak carelessly, and weeds of negativity will take root. Like you see, always reap what you sow. Remember, your mouth is not just a communication tool. It's a creative force. It builds, it shapes, it influences entire worlds. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." So let your words be proof of your character. Speak with integrity. Speak with clarity. Speak in a way that reflects the strength you are building within. Because when you master your mouth, you don't just command conversations, you take the first real step toward commanding your life. And now we enter the next battleground, the mind. Because if your mouth is how you express power, your mind is where that power is forged. It is the quiet arena where every true battle begins. Let's explore it together. As we just explored, the mouth may express what you believe, but the mind is where those beliefs are born. And mastering your mind, that's where the real transformation begins. Picture this. You wake up feeling already defeated. Maybe it was a rough night of sleep. Maybe the weight of yesterday's failures still lingers in your chest. And before your feet even touch the floor, a silent voice inside whispers, "Today will be hard." That thought, left unchecked, becomes your reality. Suddenly, every small task feels heavier, every setback more personal. But what if, right in that moment, you chose a different thought? What if, instead of surrendering to defeat, you redirected your focus? This is the very heart of controlling the mind. Because what you feed your mind, it multiplies. Focus on fear, self-doubt, or regret, and those emotions will quietly grow, shaping your actions and coloring your reality. But choose to nurture thoughts of resilience, gratitude, and possibility, and you'll start seeing doors where others only see walls. In today's world, where distractions are endless and pressures unrelenting, our minds are under constant siege. News headlines flood us with fear. Social media tempts us into endless comparison. Society demands more, faster, better, always. But the Stoics believed something radical. Your mind is your fortress, and no external force, no crisis, no comet, no failure can truly control you unless you allow it. A disciplined mind, fortified with wisdom, can endure even the harshest of storms. One of the most effective Stoic tools for this? Visualization. Close your eyes for a moment. Now picture yourself not struggling, but thriving, not being crushed by challenges, but overcoming them with quiet strength. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Visualization is not wishful thinking, it's mental training, a deliberate rehearsal for the success you want to manifest. And when done consistently, it primes your mind to respond to life's real challenges with clarity and conviction. But let's be honest, controlling the mind doesn't mean ignoring fear or pretending problems don't exist. The Stoics didn't preach denial. They preached resilience, fear, doubt, hesitation. These are part of being human. But the key is not to let them take root. Let fear rise, acknowledge it, then let it pass like a wave. Don't grip it, don't feed it. As Epictetus reminded us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. That response, that's your choice. Always. Think of a woman training for a marathon. Every morning her alarm rings at 5 a.m. The bed is warm, the room is cold, and her first thought is, I can skip today. But instead of giving in, she pauses, she breathes, she replaces that thought with another. This is hard, but I'm stronger. Day after day, she shows up, not just for the race, but for herself. And on race day, when she crosses that finish line, it's not just about physical endurance. It's about all the mental battles she conquered along the way. And that brings us to the next essential domain, emotion. Because even with a strong mind and careful words, we must learn how to handle the storms within. Let's turn now to understanding and mastering our emotions. In our last reflection, we saw how the mind, when trained and guided, becomes a fortress of strength. But just as important as focusing your thoughts is protecting them. Think of your mind as a garden. What you allow in will grow. If you permit negativity, gossip, toxic conversations, or the constant stream of pessimistic news to take root, it's only a matter of time before those weeds choke out your clarity, your peace, and your ability to grow. Guarding your mind is not about isolation, it's about discernment. Surround yourself with voices that challenge, uplift, and inspire. Be intentional about your environment. Choose books that align with your values. Listen to podcasts that feed your vision. Engage in conversations that spark meaningful thought. Instead of draining your energy, And don't underestimate the power of pen and paper. Journaling is one of the most underrated tools for mental clarity. Each morning or evening, give yourself a few quiet minutes. Write down your thoughts, your fears, your goals, your gratitude. Externalizing what's internal helps you step back and examine your mind's narrative more objectively. This small act doesn't just organize your thoughts, it resets them. It reminds you of what truly matters and reveals the subtle beliefs that might be limiting your growth. Imagine a man waking up already feeling the pressure of the day. His mind is racing, unfinished tasks, financial concerns, personal burdens. That familiar weight builds fast. But instead of spiraling, he pauses. He picks up his journal. He writes, "Today, I will focus only on what I can control. I will do my best. And I will let go of what I cannot change." And just like that, his mindset shifts from anxiety to intention. But in the digital age, there's a new layer of complexity, constant distraction. Social media, for example, thrives on your attention. It pulls you into endless scrolls, comparisons, and noise. How many times have you looked up from your screen, feeling more anxious and less worthy than before? Controlling your mind today means setting boundaries. Limit your exposure. Create intentional breaks from the noise. Build pockets of stillness into your routine, spaces where your mind can breathe, recharge, and refocus. This is where meditation becomes a powerful ally. Far from being a spiritual luxury, it's a practice deeply aligned with Stoic philosophy. It's a daily moment to sit with your thoughts without judgment, to observe, release, and realign. Marcus Aurelius himself practiced a form of daily reflection, using it to review his choices, reaffirm his values, and prepare for the demands of leading an empire. And let's not forget one of the most powerful influences on your mind, the people around you, because the company you keep will either reinforce your discipline or quietly unravel it. Up next, we explore how your emotional world, when left unchecked, can sabotage everything you're building, or when mastered, can elevate you beyond it. Let's dive into the realm of emotion. In our last reflection, we explored how the people around you shape your mindset, often more than you realize. The same principle applies to your emotional world. What you allow in and how you choose to respond defines your direction. Spend your time surrounded by constant complainers or those who see only limitations, and it becomes surprisingly easy to start echoing their mindset. Negativity, like mold, spreads quietly but persistently. But shift your environment. Spend time with people who radiate positivity, grit, and purpose, and something else happens. Their energy becomes contagious. You start to believe in possibility again. You move forward with greater purpose. This is why environment matters, not just physically but emotionally. Because it doesn't just influence your mood, it shapes your thoughts, which ultimately shape your life. There's a timeless phrase echoed in Stoicism: "As a man thinketh, so is he." It may sound like philosophy, but it's actually practicality in disguise. Your thoughts become your actions form habits, and your habits shape the course of your life. So when you take control of your mind, you're not just creating mental discipline, you're taking hold of your future. But here's the truth. It's not a one-time victory. It's a daily practice. Every single day, your mind will face tests. When doubt creeps in, you choose to believe. When fear whispers in the dark, you choose courage. When the world around you becomes too loud, you choose stillness. This is the essence of self-mastery. Not perfection, but a commitment to rise above chaos and create a life of clarity, focus, and meaning. Master your mind, and you'll not only win the silent battles within, you'll also walk with calm through life's loudest storms. This is the Stoic path, a journey grounded in wisdom, built on discipline, and defined by unshakable strength. Now we arrive at the third pillar of mastery, your emotions. Emotions are powerful. They can lift us to greatness or pull us off course entirely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That wisdom doesn't just apply to thoughts, it extends directly to your emotions. Because while we can't always prevent emotions from arising, we can always choose how we respond. Imagine a sailor suddenly caught in a storm. Waves crash. Winds roar. Fear rushes in. He could panic, let go of the wheel, surrender to the sea, but he doesn't. He grips the wheel tighter. He stays calm. And in doing so, he guides the boat through chaos. In life, our emotions are like those waves. They rise, they fall, they crash at unexpected moments. The question isn't whether they'll come, it's whether we steer through them or let them toss us around. The Stoics didn't label emotions as bad, they saw them as natural, human. What matters is not the emotion itself, but the meaning we attach to it, the story we tell ourselves about what it means to feel anger, fear, or sadness. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And often that suffering comes from how we interpret and respond to what we feel, not the emotion itself. So, how do we master this emotional tide? That's exactly what we'll uncover next. Previously, we uncovered how emotions, like crashing waves, test our inner strength. Now let's dive deeper into some of the emotions that challenge us most, and how the Stoics teach us to respond with clarity instead of chaos. Let's begin with anger, one of the most explosive emotions, and often the most regrettable. A friend once shared a story with me. During an argument with his partner, emotions ran high. Voices were raised. Words were fired off without thought. In the heat of that moment, pain was inflicted, deep, lasting pain. And though the argument ended, the scars remained for years. Looking back, he told me, "If I had just paused, just taken one breath, I could have saved us from all of that." That's where the Stoic practice of emotional pausing becomes a game changer. When you feel a surge of emotion, whether it's anger, frustration, or even sadness, pause. Step back, take a deep breath. Count to 10 if you must. Remind yourself you are not your feelings. Emotions are like guests. They visit, but they don't live here. This pause, though simple, creates space for wisdom to emerge. And in that space, we often find clarity. Another timeless Stoic practice? Gratitude. When emotions start to spin out of control, gratitude grounds us. Instead of ruminating on what's going wrong, the Stoics trained their minds to focus on what's going right, however small. Try it. Each morning, take a moment to acknowledge the good, the warm sunlight, a kind word, a small win. This simple shift in focus can loosen the grip of even the heaviest emotions. Modern life, however, adds a unique twist to emotional control. Take social media, for example. a space that often stirs envy, insecurity, and outrage. Scroll long enough and it's easy to feel like you're not enough, like you're behind or missing out. But remember, what you're seeing isn't real life. It's a highlight reel, a curated illusion. To protect your emotional well-being, set limits. Step away from the scroll. Reconnect with your own reality, because comparison truly is the thief of joy. And your journey deserves your full attention, not constant comparison to someone else's filtered version. Now let's look at fear, one of the most deeply rooted emotions we all face. It was meant to protect us from danger, but today it often morphs into hesitation, self-doubt, or paralysis. I once knew a young entrepreneur who dreamed of starting her own business, but fear held her back. Fear of failing, of being judged, of not being good enough. For years she hesitated, and then one day she leapt, and what she found was powerful. The fear she had built up in her mind was far worse than the reality of pursuing her passion. This captures another core Stoic teaching. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. Epictetus said, "It's not things that upset us, but our judgments about them." When we shift our perception, we reclaim control. We turn fear from a barrier into a stepping stone. And remember, your emotional state isn't just personal. It's energetic. Walk into a room carrying bitterness, and you'll feel how it spreads. But enter with calm, kindness, and intention, and you'll uplift the entire space. Like a ripple in still water, your emotions affect more than just you. They shape the environment around you. So how do we protect this emotional energy while navigating the ups and downs of daily life? Up next, we'll explore practical strategies to stay grounded, even when the world around you feels overwhelming. As we've just seen, your emotions don't exist in isolation. Like ripples in a pond, they radiate outward, shaping the energy you bring into every room, every conversation, every moment. Positivity is contagious. When you carry calm, gratitude, and emotional awareness, others feel it. But the reverse is also true. Frustration, resentment, and anxiety can silently influence everyone around you. That's why emotional control isn't just about self-discipline. It's an act of service to the people in your life. One powerful tool to regulate your emotions is journaling. Writing down what you're feeling without judgment creates space. It turns a storm of thoughts into something you can look at, understand, and work with. Over time, a pattern begins to form. You start noticing, "This always triggers me," or "I feel better when I start my mornings this way." And that awareness is the first step toward emotional mastery. Among Stoic tools, few are as profound and initially surprising as negative visualization. This practice asks you to reflect on the possibility of loss, not to make yourself sad, but to deepen your appreciation. Think about it. How would you feel if you couldn't spend time with a loved one, or pursue that passion that brings you joy? By imagining their absence, you strengthen your gratitude in the present. Suddenly, small frustrations lose their grip. Inconveniences become irrelevant. You stop taking the most important things for granted, and sometimes the smallest gestures make the biggest difference. Think back to a moment when someone's quiet kindness, maybe a gentle word, a calm presence, lifted your spirits. That person had likely developed a level of emotional discipline, choosing light over darkness in how they showed up for others. It reminds us that our emotions aren't just personal, they're interpersonal responsibilities. So how do we keep this emotional energy balanced and intentional? One answer is ritual. Begin each morning with a few moments of stillness through meditation, journaling, or simply setting a clear intention for the day. How do you want to respond when challenges arise? What kind of energy do you want to carry? And at the end of the day, reflect. What went well? What could have gone better? This daily rhythm becomes a frame, a structure to hold your emotions in awareness instead of letting them drift uncontrolled. Let's return to the image of the sailor in the storm. His strength didn't come from avoiding the waves, but from learning to read them, to navigate, not to panic. Just like those waves, emotions will rise and fall. Your job is not to suppress them, but to steer through them with grace and presence. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. And while revoking that power isn't easy, it is absolutely possible, with patience, with practice, with presence. In mastering your emotions, you don't eliminate life's chaos. You become calm within it. You find clarity in the noise, strength in the struggle. And that is the Stoic way. But there's one more realm we must address. One final force that can shape or shatter your freedom, your relationship with money. Let's explore it next. As we've just explored, emotional mastery means steering through life's waves with balance and inner clarity. Now we turn to another powerful force, one that influences nearly every decision we make, yet often controls us more than we control it. Money. Control your money, or it will control you. Money is often labeled as the root of all evil, but this is a misjudgment. Epictetus helped clarify the Stoic perspective when he said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In other words, money itself is neutral. It's neither good nor bad. What gives it power, destructive or liberating, is our relationship with it. For some, money is a tool, something to be managed wisely, used generously, and leveraged to create freedom. For others, it becomes a source of stress, a chain of debt, and endless desire, constantly pulling them further from peace. Picture this. A young professional with a decent income, yet somehow she's always struggling. Living paycheck to paycheck, her money disappears almost as fast as it comes in. She spends on impulse, guided by social pressure, fleeting emotions, and the temptation of instant gratification. She often tells herself, I deserve this, as she clicks, buy now. The purchase feels good in the moment, but later she feels the pinch. She's unable to save. Investing feels out of reach. Her dreams of travel, freedom, or building a business remain distant. Over time, she feels stuck, trapped in a cycle that keeps repeating. Sound familiar? She's not alone. Many of us have been raised to equate money with image, status, or self-worth. We buy without pausing to ask, does this reflect what I truly value? But Stoicism teaches a different path, one rooted in intentionality and discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. This wisdom applies to money just as much as to mindset. Because when you shift how you think about money, you begin to reclaim your power over it. The first step? Awareness. Track your spending, not in your head, on paper, or in an app. Every coffee, every subscription, every small indulgence. For 1 month, write it all down. This simple act will reveal patterns: where your money goes, what habits need attention, and which expenses no longer serve you. Then comes budgeting, not as a punishment, but as a path. Think of a budget like a compass. It doesn't restrict your movement, it guides it. Divide your income into clear categories: essentials, savings, investments, and discretionary spending. Give every dollar a direction so it works for you, not against you. The Stoics championed discipline, and budgeting is a modern reflection of that timeless virtue. Let's look at another real-world scenario. A father in his 40s begins to feel the weight of responsibility. He dreams of sending his children to college. He wants to retire one day without stress. But bills keep piling up, and financial planning has always felt overwhelming. What can he do to regain control and build toward the life he envisions? That's exactly what we'll explore next. Previously, we met a father overwhelmed by financial responsibilities, yet determined to take back control of his money. Now, let's follow the steps he takes and uncover how a Stoic mindset can rebuild not only your finances, but your inner peace. Instead of giving in to stress and despair, he turns to a principle deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Focus only on what you can control. He begins by creating a clear plan. One step at a time, he works to eliminate his debt, starting with small balances, cutting back on non-essential spending, and gradually building an emergency fund. His progress is slow but steady, and with every small victory, he feels a growing sense of security and something even deeper, a renewed sense of purpose. Saving, he realizes, isn't just about guarding against emergencies. It's about laying the foundation for a stable, meaningful future. The Stoics believed in acting with foresight, anticipating challenges before they arise. Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." That craving, the endless hunger for more, is what keeps so many stuck in stress, regardless of how much they earn. But saving, even in small amounts, helps you escape that trap. Set aside just a small percentage of your income each month. Over time, this habit becomes a source of empowerment. It frees you from the anxiety of living paycheck to paycheck and opens the door to real freedom. Once saving becomes part of your routine, the next step is investing. But here, caution is essential. Investing is about growing your wealth in alignment with your values, not chasing quick wins or getting swept up in hype. Stoicism warns us about the twin emotional traps of greed and fear. They cloud judgment, leading to impulsive decisions that may cost us dearly. Instead, invest with wisdom. Seek understanding. Study before you act. Ask yourself, does this align with my long-term vision, or am I just reacting to short-term emotions? And speaking of emotions, let's address one of the most common money traps: impulse spending. How often do we buy something we don't truly need? A flash sale, a rough day, a craving for comfort, and just like that, another unplanned expense. This is how the cycle of consumption feeds itself: momentary satisfaction, long-term regret. The Stoics taught us to pause, reflect, and act with intention. Epictetus offered a timeless reminder: if you wish to be rich, do not add to your money, but subtract from your desires. Before every purchase, ask yourself, does this add real value to my life? If the answer is no, walk away. This is where minimalism meets Stoicism. When you simplify your spending, you create space for peace, for clarity, for the things that truly matter. Often it's not the number of possessions we own, but the meaning they carry that brings real joy. Declutter your finances the way you might declutter your home. Let go of what doesn't support your long-term vision. Focus on what does. And remember, you're not navigating this path alone. The people around you deeply influence your financial behavior. Spend time with those who value frugality, generosity, and responsibility, and their habits will begin to shape yours. But what happens when your environment pulls you in the opposite direction? That's what we'll explore next. In the previous section, we explored how the people you surround yourself with can deeply influence your financial habits. Now let's go a step further, because who you admire and emulate plays a powerful role in shaping your financial future. In today's world, it's easy to chase appearance over substance, but when we let status symbols dictate our goals, we fall into unnecessary competition, reckless spending, and hollow achievements. That's why choosing your financial role models wisely is so important. They don't just influence your actions, they quietly sculpt your aspirations. The Stoics taught that true wealth is not measured by accumulation, but by intention. And generosity? That's a cornerstone of real financial control. They believed that wealth, when guided by wisdom, becomes a means to serve, not just the self, but the greater good. When you use your resources to uplift others, to support a cause, or to nurture your community, money transforms. It stops being a source of anxiety and becomes a source of meaning. Think about the legacy you want to leave behind. Is it a life filled with clutter, debt, and regret, or one built on purpose, clarity, and contribution? When you control your money, you also control your capacity to create impact, not just in your own life, but in the lives of those who follow. And like all forms of mastery, this doesn't happen by accident. It's built on daily discipline. Start each morning by reviewing your budget. Reconnect with your financial goals. Ask yourself, what do I want my money to help me accomplish today? End each day by looking back. Did I spend in ways that reflect my values? These simple habits, just a few minutes a day, build the foundation of intentional living. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A man's worth is no greater than the worth of his ambitions." When it comes to money, this means aligning your financial habits with what truly matters to you. If your ambition is freedom, then save and invest with intention. If your ambition is impact, then let your wealth serve something bigger than yourself. Whatever your vision may be, let your money serve it, not sabotage it. Let it work for you, not against you. Mastering money is a journey made up of small, consistent steps. Tracking expenses, setting goals, practicing restraint, giving with purpose, and with each step you'll begin to notice a shift. You're no longer controlled by money. You're using it with clarity to build the life you truly want. This is the Stoic path: to live with intention, to use resources wisely, and to find freedom through discipline. Because true wealth isn't measured by what you have, but by how you live, and that brings us full circle. Life isn't about controlling every external detail. It's about mastering yourself. Through the timeless lens of Stoicism, we've explored 4 essential pillars of self-control. Your mouth, your mind, your emotions, and your money. So what happens when you begin to align all 4? Let's bring it all together, one final time. When you begin aligning your words, your thoughts, your emotions, and your money, you'll notice something powerful. The world starts to feel lighter, less chaotic, less overwhelming, more meaningful, more intentional, more in harmony with who you truly are. When you control your words, you stop building walls and start building bridges. You create connection, trust, and understanding instead of division. When you master your thoughts, you stop spiraling into fear and doubt and start crafting a mindset rooted in possibility, in growth, in clarity. When you manage your emotions, you no longer get swept away by every storm. You learn to pause, to breathe, to transform tension into strength and chaos into calm. And when you take control of your finances, you open a new door, not just to freedom, but to legacy. You gain the power to shape not only your life, but the lives of those who will come after you. But here's the truth. Mastery alone isn't the end of the journey. Fulfillment begins when you share it, when your personal discipline becomes a ripple of impact, when your small daily choices become quiet acts of leadership. Start small. Choose kindness in your words, even when it's difficult. Choose patience in your reactions, especially when it's not easy. Choose generosity in your actions, not because you have to, but because you can. These choices may feel small, but when repeated day after day, they become powerful waves, spreading light, compassion, and wisdom far beyond your immediate circle. And as you reflect on this journey, don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Tell your story. What challenged you? What changed you? What did you learn along the way? Because when you open up, you offer strength to someone else who may be struggling. You become a mirror of possibility. And in doing so, you not only inspire others, you deepen your own gratitude for how far you've come. Every small action matters. Start today. The world is watching, quietly, hopefully, and it's ready to be moved by the love, the light, and the quiet strength only you can bring.